Hey, Puzzle Pirates crew. So today I wanted to make a nice succinct video that teaches you how to use Mantid Scene Editor so that you can get involved with the current Ocean Master event that's going on, where you can design a limited edition ship that could make its way into the game. It's very exciting, but I hear that a lot of people say that they don't participate because it just seems like a lot of trouble. And I'm here to tell you that designing is usually a lot of trouble, but thanks to Mantid, who has kind of rebuilt Yohoho Tools as a new tool, it couldn't be easier. And so a big shout out to Mantid, who's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart. And if you want to support Mantid, you can click here on his Buy Me a Coffee link and support with any amount of money that you'd like. And I wouldn't tell you to do it if I didn't do it myself. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this tutorial. Mantid has set it up to where when you go to this link, you're immediately given these 4 scenes. So the very, very first thing we're going to do, the absolute basics, is we're just going to learn how to navigate loading and saving and viewing this scene editor. The first really awesome thing is this button right here. When you click that, it brings you into a full screen mode so you can focus on this and less on the browser. I can click here to loaded scenes and see all the different scenes that are loaded up currently right now on the website. What this checkbox means is that you can navigate between the 4 really seamlessly, like this. But if for some reason you don't want to see that many scenes up at the top, you can do this. And if you don't want to see a scene at all, like if you don't think you're going to touch the crow's nest at all, you could just click remove, and now that's no longer loaded. So for this example, we'll just leave the crow's nest as is. Then, whenever you're done, you can simply click up here, this download button, which will then allow you to download the XML file to your desktop or wherever you want to save it. This XML file is the file that you're going to end up sending to the Ocean Masters to be reviewed. So all of the heavy lifting is done for you here. All right, so let's go ahead and learn how to navigate everything that's going on here. So we have our full screen button. We have our scenes. We understand the scene loader and how to remove scenes. If you want to add a scene, which I will right now, this is just a dragging system. So let me find my crow's nest for my limited edition ship. And I'm just going to drag it and place it down. So now this is the crow's nest for the ship that I have already submitted. You could see that it's loaded up now. And I can switch between the two. Pretty cool. And I'll show you what my ship looks like at the end of the video if you're interested. But let's get back into what we're going to try to build today. All right. I'm going to go back into full screen mode. So we understand our full screen, our download button. Now, our paintbrush button is really interesting. All that it's doing here is it's taking a look at all the different assets that are in the scene and looking to see if they have any coloring properties. For example, the ropes on a ship do have some sort of coloring property. And so we don't really need to work on that right now. But using this menu over here, we can change the colors of everything instead of having to go one at a time and change the colors of each individual item, right? That would take a long time. So instead, we have these options over here. We can take the, let's do gray. Let's do another gray. And it's nice to know that it doesn't actually override whatever you do manually. So that's cool. But I am going to edit these to be gray as well. And then the hull, the bottom of the ship. Let's make that gray as well. Okay, then let's make the ropes white. Why not? So take some time and let's go ahead and get to this stage here where you have recolored your ship in whatever colors you'd like to see. I'm not exactly sure what this does. Looks like it's not touching anything really. All right. So if you've done that, you've recolored your ship just for this example, however you like. Let's move on to this next button here, this plus button, which is toggle a new item. So we're gonna bring up this menu, and quite literally, this is every single asset in the game. So whatever you want to find here and place down, you absolutely can. So for this example, let's go ahead and grab this, which is a very interesting furniture item. I feel like I had never seen it before in the game. And I'm just going to place it here. All right, so take whatever furniture item you want and go ahead and place it somewhere on your ship. We're going to use this object to learn some of the controls. So first of all, if you want to delete an item, hit the delete key. Now I know you're thinking, well, I need my item back. You can hold down Control and press the Z key to undo something that you just did in Mantid Scene Editor. You can also use Y to redo something that you just undid. So you can kind of go back and forth in time. All right. Go ahead and load it back in by undoing your delete action. And then we're now looking at rotate. So you can use the arrow keys that are here, the shift and then greater than, less than signs to rotate. Oh, you don't even have to shift. You can just press either one. And then you can also use Q or E. I use Q or E because I'm just more familiar with that feeling. And so go ahead and try rotating your furniture item. See how many views it has. Looks like this one has 4 different views. Some furniture items have 8 or even 12 views. So definitely check out all the furniture items that you're looking at to see all the different positions. The next one is M for move. When you press M, it just picks it up and puts it on your mouse so that you can left click to put it somewhere again. That's not a very good spot. Let me press M again and move it back. And then you can also copy the file, the image, by pressing C. So I just copied it. I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and I'm going to stick it right here. So now I have 2 of those in my scene. And then the last thing that you can do is you can change the render priority of the item. Basically, all that means is that if you want this for some reason to be in front of these, you would change the render priority. You would make this one less by hitting the minus key. And then you would make this one more by hitting the plus key. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that's some pretty advanced stuff. I would just ignore it for now, and we can move on. So we know what our paintbrush does. We know what this add new button is. I failed to mention that you can also just start searching for an item. So let's try gold. All right, so this is going to pull up every item that has gold in it, in its name. Okay. And I like to toggle the menu off whenever I'm actually in the action. Let me delete that one, and I'm just going to keep this one up here for now. Okay. So the next thing that we want to try is this button right here. This is toggling the base tile editing mode. So you kind of have 2 things going on. You have all the different furniture assets, all these things that are highlighted in blue, but then you also have the floor. You have the ocean, you have the deck, the ship deck. And so to edit those tiles, we need to go into this mode. Now what's kind of cool here is that even the file that Cronus gave us for the event has a little hidden, I wouldn't call it an issue because you can't even see it, but the tiles here are a different subset of tiles, so I'm just actually going to click and replace those. And in this tile edit mode, you can, just like before, you go up here and click this select new tile menu and look for something that you want to replace the tiles with. If you choose outdoor tiles, it's going to mess up because the outdoor tiles are coded to interact with the water to create shore. So if I were to do this, you're going to see that now my ship is more like an island than it is a ship. So I'm just going to Control Z all that. We don't really want that to happen. So I need to pick a tile that's meant for indoors or a vessel. And so I could just type vessel up here and get all of my vessel ones. Now, let's see. I like this blue, this haunted ship deck, because I like the way that it matches the furniture item up here in blue. So I'm going to select this, and I can just left click to replace the floor tiles. I could do it one at a time, like this. I could also hold down Control and then drag, click and drag across a certain area to replace all the floor tiles at once. So I'm going to try that again for this nice big area. It's very satisfying. All the way across. And done. All right. Another thing that I want to show you that's a little bit advanced is this idea of use random tile from set. So some tile sets, like these, you can tell they're very, very different depending on which tile it is. And sometimes you don't want to pick a random tile because it's not going to look right. For example, this asset down here, the plank, if I were to just use a random tile set, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be like this. And that looks okay, but it's not always going to look exactly how it should. So instead, I'm going to turn that off. Then I'm going to use that rotate feature to go through all of the different versions of this asset. And let's do this one. So I'll start here. And then it looks like the next one should be this. And then rotating again, and then rotating again, rotating again, and again. And then the pattern starts over because that's how the base tile was created. Okay? So I'm just going to leave that there as a nice feature. And we're going to leave base tiles for now and come back to the normal edit mode, which is for the furniture and all the different things here. Right. So let's do a little bit of editing of the ship. I know that I want to replace some of the assets on the ship. Let's start with the figurehead down here. So I want to move over so that I can center the figurehead. So I'm actually going to hold right click and drag so that I can focus on this. You can also zoom in and out with your mouse wheel, which is kind of cool. And I happen to already know that the figurehead, if I were to type figurehead here, if I could type, it's going to give me some of them, but not all of them, because the way that the files have been organized are under this category called prow, P-R-O-W. So now I have lots of options. Now, I don't really want one of these like this junk one because it's just not going to sit right with the sloop. It's meant for a different kind of ship. Maybe you could figure out a way to make it work, but for me, obviously this one's going to be too big. It says large. So I want to scroll down and find one that I like, that I think goes with our theme. Let's see. something that says small. Is this one small? Yeah, that works. So there's already something there. So I'm just gonna place this down over here to the side. I'm gonna find the tile where this is actually sitting. I know that's kind of confusing, but in order to select this, it's actually sitting on this tile. So I select this area and click the delete button. And then I'm gonna find this one and use the M button to replace the figurehead. So go ahead and replace the figurehead. I don't want this anchor here. Let me get rid of the anchor. Okay. And so that is the, that's how you might replace parts of the ship. Let's look at some other ways to replace parts of the ship. Let's try the rail. So I type rail. And let's say that I wanted to use this kind of rail instead of what's in there currently. So I'll take this and I'll delete it, and then press M and move it in. And then I'll copy it with C. And then I'll, oh, this one won't let me rotate it. Okay, that's good to know. So I'll just delete that. Let's see, what else could we do here? I wonder what would happen if I use this vessel rail small dark up here. I'll delete this and replace it with this. Oh, that's nice because you can see that now the gray is matching the rest of the gray of the ship. And I'm also going to do something kind of crazy here. I kind of want to see what it would look like if there was only one staircase. So I'm going to delete this. Yikes. Okay, I know I need to replace that wall. And then I need to figure out a solution for up here. So let's type wall. See if we can't find a wall that would work. This looks right. Vessel wall blank. And yep, that looks good. And then let's actually just take this and press C and then build it over here. How am I gonna fix this? Let me look at the rail options here. Look at that, a small one. I'm getting lucky, I know. So I'm gonna put that one here. I mean, it looks okay. And then the last thing really is this arrow is no longer needed because I don't need the arrows that point to each other to teleport up and down. Now, one thing with arrows that you need to understand is that I do not know how the arrows work other than I know that they're linked. So editing the arrows, probably a bad idea. I'm pretty sure that it's safe that I did what I just did because I know that those arrows were just linked to each other, that they teleport you up and down the stairs. So that was pretty safe. But I would say for the most part, don't touch the arrows at all. Okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and add some furniture. Whatever we want to add here. I've already got a gray theme going. Is there anything that's gray? No. What's the grappling hook? That's kind of cool. Sure, why not? That looks pretty cool. And then what if I want to put some flowers? Then, oh, this is cool. Maybe put that here. And maybe the flowers are red and bright red? Oh, no. That's editing the other thing. Okay, I want that to be gray. Okay. So the last thing that we really need to talk about is actions. Actions are the things that happen when you click on certain items to interact with them. For example, this gunning station here, the action is vessel duty gunnery. Now what's cool about this is that you can assign any action to any item. So if I didn't want this to be my guns, let's say that let me see if I can find something interesting here. Let's do a different kind of cannon, right? Let's say that I wanted this cannon, this tabletop cannon, to be my gun, my cannon. So let's just do that. I'm going to find a nice table, nice little table to hold that. I'm going to delete this gunner. I'm going to put this here. Yep. And then I'm going to go and find that cannon again, the toy one. And yep. And then I'm going to place it right here. And then I'm going to find the action code. I'm just going to copy it over here, but I will have a link to a list of all the action commands that I could find. Thanks to everyone who let me pester them and help me find all these different action codes. I appreciate it. And so I'm just going to put that in here. And then I'm going to click away. Now watch what happens. When I hold the Alt key, it shows me all of the different interactables, all the action commands that are currently on. So you can see that if this were to actually go in the game, this toy cannon would be the gunner station. So that's kind of cool. You can get really creative with how you select what items become what actions. Here's another example. This is the action for vessel exit. That makes sense because it's the rowboat to leave, right? So let's instead find another rowboat. This one's great because it's gray. I'm going to delete this one, place this one here, and give it this action. Click away. And now I've replaced my rowboat with a different rowboat. So in order to be compliant with the rules, you do want to make sure that you have an equal amount of stations. You want to make sure you have a link to the ship's hold somewhere. If we go over to the cabin, or excuse me, the hold, you want to make sure that you do have a navigation table, another ship's hold link, and your booty. And yeah, so this is pretty much everything that you need in order to be dangerous for the limited edition competition. It will still take you some time, but I find it to be a lot of fun, especially if you put on some nice music and get to it. I'm now going to show you what I've submitted. I just submitted today by dragging these in. And I'm not particularly attached to this design, so I'm actually going to hit the refresh button. I didn't save anything, which means that when I do press the reset button, I'm going to lose all of this stuff. So just make sure, remember, very important, that when you're done with your scenes, that you download them. I'll just download that to my desktop. And now I have it. And now if I wanted to drag it back in, it would load it all up again. But anyways, I'm going to reset here. I don't want any of these scenes. I'm just going to remove them. And then I'm going to drag in my 4 scenes for my sloop that I made. I'll tell you a little bit about the idea. Oh yeah, you have to drag them one at a time. I forgot about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So my ship... Remove. My ship is called the Curio class sloop. So I combined some different elements from the Tiburon class. This is like a shark tank. I think this comes from the Ancient class, this Anubis figurehead. And this comes from the Steampunk class sloop, this door, this nice copper door. And I figured out pretty quick, sorry, I need to make it a little bigger for you guys. I figured out pretty quick that copper is actually, because of that previous limited edition sloop, they added copper to the game for vessel colors. So I applied the copper color to a lot of the different vessel assets. And then I added these bronze cannons because they kind of look copperish as well. I turned this into the leave the ship. And otherwise, things are pretty regular here. But where it gets interesting is when you walk into this vault, I expanded that room, knocked down the walls, and replaced new walls. And I created this this room where you can put all of your trinkets. My design will likely get disqualified because I'm asking the Ocean Masters to do something that is currently not in the game, which is the ability to put multiple trinket racks in the game. You can see how this one it understands that that it wants to access the trinket case, but these aren't. It seems like it's not coded correctly, right? And that's because the game's currently not set up to have multiple trinket displays in the same room. So it likely won't win, and that's okay. And that's the idea here, coming into the cabin. And then below deck, if I go here, there's some more of that going on as well. So trinket, trinket, trinket. I used the Monster Hunter class table for the nav table, and I recolored it to copper. I took a painted chest that was tan. It kind of looked copperish. And yeah. And then, you know, lastly is the crow's nest. I found a copper color for that and added a nice little Egyptian eye there. So that, my friends, is a little bit of a tutorial about how to use Mantid Scene Editor. If you have any questions, you can, of course, reach out to me or Mantid or, you know, just ask around. There's lots of people that would be happy to help. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Have fun crafting. Bye.